Ladies and gentlemen, this is El Cochino, Tom Lawler, and I'd like to welcome you to the podcast that puts the lotion on its own skin, LuchaWorld. Bitchin'.
Welcome everyone to LuchaWorld Podcast episode 91. I'm your host, Fredo Esparza, going solo again this week. Gonna try to get Kurt back on episode 100 probably, or whenever he decides to start watching wrestling again. If you've been listening to the shows, he's actually, I think the last show he was on, he actually admitted he hasn't watched any Lucha Libre, I would say since July, maybe. I don't even know. Actually, he's gone to live shows, so that's not true. We've seen live shows, but not anything online like CMLL, mostly just the older Lucha Libre. So he's been on Lucha Classica. If you want to listen to Kurt, you got to sign up to Patreon at the moment, I guess, or listen to the 10-minute preview and enjoy his the 10 minutes of his talking about classic lucha. But this week we're going to talk about Terrible joining Los Ingobernables, CMLL running multiple tag team tournaments. You know, they just finished one, and now they started the following day they started a second one, and they're going to start another one this upcoming Friday. Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Jushin Thunder Liger happening in Long Beach. And also at the end we're going to talk about the 10 best luchadors 25 and under. I made a list. It's not an official list. I'm sure there's so many guys, but this is basically a list that I came up with. You could agree with it, you could disagree with it. You could probably name more people that you could that aren't on the list. There's a lot of guys. I mean, really, there's a lot of talent because there's so many luchadors that start before the age of 20. But I basically just made the list of guys that are already known names, and many of them you'd be surprised that are actually so young, given how long you've probably heard their names in Lucha Libre, not just in Mexico, but traveling in Japan, the United States. Actually, I think one of them that made the list, I was surprised that it's a female. And I was surprised when I heard how long she'd been in wrestling. And yeah, it's true. She's been around for a long time, and she still hasn't even reached 25. But yeah, that's going to be on this one, on this episode. I won't give out any Lucha Underground TV taping spoilers, even though I do know some of them. But it's like I'm already going to forget about it anyway. So we have so much to talk about this week. So it's not something that I'm really going to bring up. And then, really, I don't want to ruin it for anybody who wants to watch it and be surprised as they're watching. Most of us who, even if we read them, by the time the show airs, I mean, I think they're taping the next 5 weeks. So really, who knows when it's going to start airing? If it starts airing like maybe the earliest in August, by that point, most of us already forget what happened. So, it doesn't matter. I could probably tell everybody spoilers and it wouldn't matter. But yeah, there's plenty to talk about this week. Something that just happened within the last 2 hours was Miguel Reducindo, who's been working for CMLL since late 2006, which is about 12 years he's been with the promotion. He worked in the press department and for the longest time, and he basically took, you might have seen him on CML Informa. He did some announcing on the shows. I think he did a few of the Fantastica Mania shows. He used to do the Match Relampagos, when they would put them up just separately, the 10 minutes. That's basically all he would do at times. I think he would fill in at times on some of the shows as well. He did he also did the Arena Coliseo, the brief run that they had of Arena Coliseo shows on Fox Deportes, where he would do the introduction of some classic moments in Lucha Libre. And he also was the co-author of the CMLL book that just came out in December. So that seemed like a little bit of a surprise, since usually if you have a job in CMLL, they usually don't fire you or you don't leave. I mean, you basically have to do something, or somebody has to trash talk you in order to just trash your name in order for you to leave. And he was very thankful to his bosses, Paco Alonso, the younger generation of Luderoth family members, the wrestlers, some of the some of the other people that worked in CMLL. And then he talked about how there were a lot of kiss asses within the promotion that kind of don't let other people grow or share or give out ideas. And the way it sounded, I mean, I guess those people kind of like just wore him out, because he basically mentioned he had other projects that he had left on the side that he's now gonna start doing again. Yeah, he mentioned he had been gone for a couple of months, so he's gonna be a loss just because he was the, I don't know, I always found him like the closest to being a fan in the promotion, because he knew the history of Lucha Libre. He knew a lot about the history of Lucha Libre, but he also kind of seemed like whenever he was on Informa, if you listen to the show now, when they ask questions, it's usually just the same repetitive questions that Carmen asked, whereas Miguel Reducindo would actually go through the list of, people asking questions on their Facebook page, and he would actually read them out. He'd give shout outs to the fans, thank the fans that were sending messages. A lot of the people that have been reacting to it on his post on Facebook have been talking about how they've been very positive towards him. There's been a lot of wrestlers from CMLL, some of the wrestlers that have left over the years, who've been very positive towards him. So he kind of seems like one of the nice guys. One of the highlights several years ago was back when Miguel Fonseca was working for AAA. The Tercera Caída guys actually had Miguel Fonseca from AAA and Miguel Reducindo from CML on the show to discuss like the two promotions. And they were very cordial towards each other, and they actually had a very entertaining show. I would check that out. I think it's still up on I think it's on TVC Deportes' YouTube channel. But that was a really entertaining show because they talked about the two promotions and the differences, and just a lot about Lucha Libre and everything that goes on in the business. Very interesting that both guys, I know Fonseca was involved, some booking, like he got involved in booking AAA, but that after that accident, it kind of just went south for him. And I think he's working with Lucha de Barrio or Full or one of those promotions. Well, getting back to the big news, basically CML they had their show planned out on February 16th. That was going to be when the final for the Torneo Parejas Increibles was going to be held. And an earthquake hit about an hour before the show was going to start. So they had to cancel that show on February 16th. They rescheduled it to February 23rd. And they held the show, basically kept the same card. The only difference really was Mystico was booked already in Tijuana for this past weekend, so they had to switch him out with someone else. I think they switched him out with Dragon Lee, or I can't remember which match he was in, but they switched that out. The show was actually pretty good. If you have the time to watch only a handful of matches from that show, I would recommend watching the Niebla Roja versus Soberano Jr. match for Lápago. Really good match. It ended in a way where both guys ended up being counted out. And the way it ended, where they both missed dives, you would kind of think that they would come back with a rematch. But it being CMLL, we may never see this match again. I hope they do come back to it. I mean, we might get the rematch like in another promotion. Dragon Lee and Titan had a match for Lámpago a couple weeks ago, and they just had a match. Instead of it being in CML, it ended up being in Pro Wrestling Revolution in Northern California, which is a really good match. I highly recommend watching that. It's on their Twitch channel. I think I posted a link on one of the most recent Lucha reports. If not, you could find it on Lucha Blog or my Twitter accounts, because Lucha Blog tweeted it out, and then I watched it, and then I retweeted it, and it's on there. You go to Pro Wrestling Revolution's Twitter account also and probably find it on there also. But a really good match. But this match, I would hope they would hold it. They would have a rematch just because it was really fun. I think the technical versus technical matches at Match Relapagos have been really good. The Rudo versus Rudo ones, they've been picking some really weird matchups, so they haven't been as good. And I think actually the Cranio Hechicero match was really good also. You would think they would actually build to something else, like maybe a rematch. Instead of it being on a Friday, maybe have it on a Tuesday or on a Monday show, and not have it be a rematch Relámpago, have it go longer, especially on Tuesdays when they basically have a lot of guys who are kind of like Niebla Rojas, Sobrano Jr., Titan, Dragon Lee, Hechicero. All those guys could be on the Tuesday show, and it could mean something on that. But, it's CMLL. The main event was really good. Rush and El Terrible beat Ultimo Guerrero and Volador Jr. to win the Torneo Parejas Increibles final. I thought it wasn't as good as last year's match, but I think that's just a fan, someone's preference. I thought last year's had a little more action to it, and Volador Jr. wasn't worried about his nose being broke. His nose was fractured in this match, so he actually fractured his nose in Puebla, against Ultimo Guerrero. So that added a little more to it in this match. They had post match interviews, and Ultimo Guerrero was the one that brought up that he had Volador Jr. had fractured his nose in Puebla, and they basically talked about how they were rivals again, and they were going to have to settle their feud. And this was before Volador Jr. showed up to do the post match press interview, and Volador Jr. brought up how he thought they should team up again and get a rematch with Terrible and Rush. And suddenly Ultimo Guerrero said, hey, well, if he wants a treaty, we could have that match. But it's CMLL. We might actually see this match, but probably until January again. So, or probably next week. You never know. It's the way it goes with CMLL. I thought this was really good. They actually had everyone kick out of the big finishers. The closing minutes were basically Volador Jr. basically going for the pin on Terrible, and Tirantes was ready to do the 3 count, and Rush pulled Tirantes out of the ring into the floor. Then he got back in and hit the Rush driver on Volador Jr. Terrible then hit a top rope plancha on Volador Jr. to get the win. You see Tirantes just counting the pin, groggy. I thought that was the best way just to get Tirantes, not get carried. And the cool thing about it was Tirantes was playing injured, so he didn't do his ridiculous 3 count of like overreacting, doing his count or whatever. He does a lot of he motions a lot nowadays, so it kind of gets a little ridiculous. At the end of the match, Terrible, Rush asked for the mic, and he took a while to get asked to. CMLL people took a while to get the mic, and he looked, of course, it being Rush, he's upset. He grabs the mic and he asks Terrible if he's with Los Ingobernables or against them, and he raises up his fist, and Terrible agrees. So now Terrible is part of the Los Ingobernables. The funny thing is Terrible, I think 2 weeks ago, when he was on Informer, was trashing Piroth as a wrestler, talking about how bad he was. So now that's basically been forgotten. Now they're all together. I think this is great just because Terrible, of all the guys that have joined the Ingobernables, I think he's the one that actually gets the whole the character and everything, what he's supposed to be as an Ingobernable, because he's already a Rudo, so he kind of gets the whole thing. Whereas when Sombra and La Máscara joined, they were technicos, but they didn't want to be booed. It took Sombra a while. I think once Sombra got it, he really got it. And but La Máscara, I never really felt he was really into it. Naito got it right away. Also, he was the other guy that got it quickly when he showed up. He got it. Piroth, he's just bad. He never got it. I think with Marco, he was more. I think he realized that he was a better. He was better babyface than being a Rudo, so he never really accepted being in that role. Rey Escorpion never really got much of a chance, never really got time in that, so he never got in there. But I think Terrible has been, he's going to be a good fit. The match quality should increase just because instead of it being Piroth it won't be Piroth, Rush, and random guy. Well, it's still going to be Piroth, Rush, and random guys. But at least now you might get Terrible in there. I think the worst thing out of this whole thing was, I don't know, maybe if CMLL had that show on February 16th, maybe they would have had Rush and Terrible continue on as a tag team in the World Tag Team title tournament. because I think they didn't realize. I don't know. I mean, they had to have known that this was going to happen. Obviously, they're part of the plan. I mean, obviously, but with CML, you never know what's going on with them, and it's like, if they knew this, they probably should have gone with, instead of going Piroth, Rush, they should have gone Rush Terrible, or at least Rush Terrible going to the finals at Dos Leyendas. It would make so much sense. And, you know, again, that tournament, they announced that tournament. They had Sansón Cuatrero relinquish the Arena Coliseo tag team titles. And immediately everyone just figured out, you know, everyone who isn't part of CML figured out, you know, Cuatrero can't be in the finals, so I don't see the point of that. I think everyone assumed, what's the point of him dropping the titles? They can't win the world titles anyways, because the final's going to be in Dos Leyendas, and he's going to be busy working the main event. And what happened? When they announced the teams, Sansón is teaming with Forastero. Cuatrero wasn't in the tournament. So basically, you're just running two tournaments when you could have just run one and had Cuatrero and Sansón kept the Arena Coliseo tag team titles and they could have dropped them afterwards, you know. But I would have preferred them going with Rush and Terrible as a tag team. Maybe made them the number one contenders, just winning winning this tournament, have them head into the next tournament. Basically, just have them keep going in tournaments. Throw them in the Arena Coliseo tag team tournament, everything, you know. Just have them win every tournament. Yeah, but I think it's going to be a good fit with Terrible in that. The other thing is, I mean, Terrible was being wasted in that TGR, TRT, Máquina de Destrucción group. Shocker and Rey Bucanero. I mean, Rey Bucanero, sometimes he was there, sometimes he wasn't there. Shocker, you know, suffered the broken jaw. He wasn't around that much, and he was having personal issues. Sometimes he's in CML, sometimes he's not. Vangelis is out with an injury, and remember, he was out of the group last summer. He announced he was out of when he tried to join Los Ingobernables and failed miserably. And then he had mentioned he wasn't going to be part of TGR, and then he suddenly got brought back. So yeah, you know, that group was always like cursed. So hopefully with this Ingobernables, I like the fact that he's the machine, La Máquina of Los Ingobernables. You have Rush as el Toro Blanco, and Piroth as La Bestia. I really wish they would get rid of Piroth and they should make Los Ingobernables. The ideal trio should be Volador Jr., Terrible, and Rush. That would be like the perfect Ingobernables. But they're not going to do it. So, you know, we're stuck with Piroth for the time being. CML is running as I mentioned, CML is running two tag team tournaments. The Arena Coliseo tag tournament started this past Saturday. Everyone saw that the first block, and the most obvious guys that could have made it to the final, Puma and Tiger, were the most obvious ones that should have gone to the final. And of course, they do not make it to the final. Instead, it's Esfinge and Triton. You know, hopefully Puma and Tiger make the World Tag Team Tournament, but I don't know. Like, even if they make it, they're not going to make the final anyway. So, you know, really, I feel bad for those guys. It's just like this. It's this promotion that, I don't know. Like, they should have been the guys that won this. They announced the other group, and the most obvious guys are Misterioso Jr. and Sagrado, who I think they previously held those titles anyway. So obviously, that's probably going to be the team. I really like Virus and Disturbio as a tag team. I remember when they teamed up. They teamed up with Bobby Zavala when they were doing the En Busca de un Ídolo series, and they were really good, a really good trio. They were better than the Cancerberos at that point, and I think Disturbio and Virus, they would be pretty cool. I don't know what CML is going to do with that. It's the Arena Coliseo tag team titles. Those guys. I mean, it wasn't too long ago when they do that Universal tournament, they don't even remember they were in a Coliseo tag titles. So, you know, that shows you how little they think of those tag titles. It's just a bunch of titles in CML, really. But the World Tag Team Title Tournament, you know, there's a couple. That's the only. I mean, they have Hechicero teaming up with Mascareno 2000. They have Sansón teaming up with Forastero, which is the weaker. Forastero's good, but he's not Cuatrero. So, you know, there's a couple of teams in there that just, you go with I mean, I would go with, really, if it was me, I would go with Mystico Dragon Lee, and maybe the next block would have Puma Tiger, have that be the final. But that's not gonna be how it works. It's gonna probably be some mix of the guys who are headlining. Either look at the teams. If it's Ultimo Guerrero, Rush, or Volador Jr., Diamante Azul on the other block, or one of those, the guys who they really like. It's going to be one of those teams, really, and that's the disappointing part of CMLL. Every time, you get some good stuff like Angel de Oro versus Cuatrero in a mass match, and then you get a couple of other things that you get this cool final for Torneo Parejas Increibles, and then you end up getting something else that you don't really like. But that's CMLL for you. The other news in Lucha. Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Jushin Thunder Liger happening on March 25th in Long Beach, California for the New Japan shows. This is actually a dream. This is a match that they've only done once. That's only happened once, and this was back in 1996, WCW Starrcade. I think that year Liger had actually he had been diagnosed with a brain tumor and had surgery in, I think, late August or sometime in August, and came back maybe a couple months later. I'm trying to remember when. I think he came back maybe, I can't remember. I'm guessing sometime in November or so. But yeah, that was actually a pretty good match. Rey versus Liger. I think the Observer Meltzer gave it a 3 3/4 stars. I kind of have a feeling that this is going to be even bigger just because it's basically a rarity that it's going to happen. And Liger, basically, this is going to be his final year or so. So, and Ray's, both guys are super over, and it's going to be a good crowd for them because it's a crowd that's going to be very, behind this match. And, both guys can still go. Ray's really good, so Liger's, for an older wrestler. I mean, if he was in Mexico, he'd probably still we'd be talking about him in that Atlantis Nero Casas group of guys. Ray still has about, if you count in lucha terms, he probably has another 20 years in lucha. He probably has maybe a couple of years as a top name in American wrestling. And then he becomes more of just a guy who works every once in a while. But in lucha, he could probably continue on till he's 60 or so. But this is gonna be a good match. That's gonna be a busy weekend in LA. Bandido and Flamita are gonna be working in PWG's Friday show that week. I think it's March 23rd. That's going to be another big show. I think they're going to have a lot. I think everybody in LA is more surprised that they have a lot of SoCal locals working that. A lot of the Santino brothers talent, Eli Everfly, Brody King. I'm trying to think. I think Jake Atlas, and I think there's someone else that I completely blanked on. But yeah, that's going to be a fun show. Titan and Arrow Boy have a singles match in Los Angeles on Sunday also. I'm curious what's happening on Saturday because I don't even know what's happening on Saturday, but there's a lot of stuff going on that weekend. AAA news. They've actually had a couple of tapings since we last did our podcast, and really the only big news has been, for me at least, Blue Demon Jr. returning to AAA to form a faction with Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. and Hernandez, and also this past, just today, Samoano of Lucha Libre Elite fame has joined AAA. I guess he's the bodyguard of Dr. Wagner Jr. So, that's interesting. Dave the Clown's rise to main event status continues in AAA. He and La Parca, they won their qualifying match for Rey de Reyes. Exciting. If you guys want to watch more Dave the Clown, you'll get more at Rey de Reyes. That's that's really what's going on in AAA. Ugh, you know. I wish there was more exciting stuff going on in AAA, but the entire card. I mean, I don't know. Like AAA is just a little out there right now. I think right now also because they're doing Lucha Underground. So as soon as they start doing the Lucha Underground tapings, the focus goes to that, and some of the AAA shows kind of look a little. Even when they don't tape Lucha Underground, they still kind of look a little awkward because they could have like Dinastia not booked. Actually, Dinastia got booked on this. Oh, the other big news was Pimpinella and Mamba's long running feud has finally ended. They have joined forces, so that's exciting news for the undercard. I'm guessing actually they do have it already. I think they have Estrella Divina, and they'll probably bring in more Exoticos at some point. Maximo's there, but he's higher in the card. Elite was announced as the last show. I think the last show we had, Elite was coming back, and then Elite announced that they were gone again, and now Elite is coming back again, and apparently they announced Brian Cage for the next show. I think it's March 4th that they're coming back. Brian Cage is working a 4-way match, main event. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Elite. I don't even think Cage can work that because if it's going to be televised, that's the problem. They can't be on a televised show, and it's Elite. So unless they don't televise that match, that it would be perfectly. I would assume that would be fine. Lucha Underground TV tapings have started. No spoilers, so I will not mention anything beyond taping starting. You could probably see a lot of social media photos. I think the one I saw was there were like, I don't know what it is. A lot of people on Facebook or like on social media were mentioning Daga was gonna go back to AAA for some reason. I guess they didn't see him booked on shows. But the weird thing is like he was on the Crash show, and he was one of the people that was talking about having that match with the Rebellion match, the two Rebellion groups having a match. He was on that, and I don't know why they were saying that he wasn't booked on anything. I think he's booked on a lot of. I saw him listed on a show in I think Laredo or something. So it's like he's still listed on an indie show. So I don't know what those people were thinking. But yeah, he was shown with Penta and all those guys. So he was at the Lucha Underground tapings. I will say the one thing I won't mention what it was, but you could probably find it online. But the spoilers, the most exciting thing to me was like the dark match that they have listed. It was a 3-way match, I think, and like a couple of newcomers to Lucha Underground made their debuts on that, and that's probably like more exciting than anything I saw that actually was taped. That's gonna end up on the show. So hopefully those guys who were working the dark match end up working some of the. Actually end up working some of the matches that end up being on Lucha Underground's TV show. So that's something to look forward to. Hopefully, so like I mentioned earlier, I made a list of the 10 best luchadors 25 and under. What some of the stuff I based it on was, they have to be guys that are known. I wasn't going to go with unknown guys because if you're unknown, you could actually make the list at a later time once you get discovered or you end up in one of the promotions, because all these guys are going to at some point end up being in either, they're either going to be in CMLL, AAA, or one of the top indie promotions, the Crash, or Lucha Elite, or some promotion is going to add them to that. So I wanted to go with the guys who are already kind of known. And I also there's a couple of people, I should mention some of the honorable mention people that I didn't make the list. A couple of the names, Angelical from AAA, Templario from CMLL. He's actually already 25, and he'll be 26 this year. So he's already aging out of this list. Microman would have made my top 10 list because he's not only is he 20, he's 20 years old. He's fun to watch. I think he could, if booked properly and used properly, I think he could be like a really cool attraction for CMLL, which that's basically what they're using him as. But there's already 10 wrestlers. The 10 I listed, I think have a lot more, have more of an opportunity to be used, not just higher on cards within their own promotions, but people that we could see going elsewhere at some point who knows, maybe WWE, or in the US for like Lucha Underground, or Arrow, or Impact, or really it's WWE or New Japan, or Lucha Underground. Those are the promotions. But I thought Microman really, I think he was probably like 11th or 10B if you want to be fair. There's too many that I really think if they weren't in their promotions and were like taking indie bookings, would probably be in this top 10, and that's Dinastia and Stuquita. I think Stuquita probably would have had a better shot of making it, just because in CML at least he makes at least a couple of appearances a month, whereas poor Dinastia, I mean, he's basically working like a lot of the house shows for AAA, or the shows that don't, the promoter, that indie shows, and he's basically like teaming up with Big Mommy versus like Yedra and Mini Psycho Clown. So he doesn't even get anything. Like he's not even like he's already been passed over by a couple of, like, at least one person, a couple of people that like Lancelot, Hijo de Vikingo. They basically already passed them. It's very disappointing because I think Dinastia has a lot of talent. I look at Flamita, and I think Dinastia could have that type of career right now, and instead of he's just toiling, wasting his time in AAA. Stuquita, I kind of feel the same way. But I think if CMLL does elevate another person from the minis division, it's going to be him, and hopefully it happens within the next year or so, because I think, this is another thing. Imagine like they ran a Coliseo tag tournament, if they would have gone like with Stuka Jr. and Stuquita. That would have been a cool way to elevate Stuquita, and I think it would have helped Stuka Jr., because I think Stuka Jr. has kind of become I think other than doing that cool dive to the outside, he's kind of become a little bland, as there's so many other technicals that have already like are more exciting, they're fresher, they're newer, and Stuka Jr. has been around for so long. I think Stuka Jr. and Stuquita would at least be a fun tag team, and it's something that they should actually consider doing at some point. But I think there's that little bit of chance for Stuquita, whereas Dinastia, I don't know. In a promotion like AAA, where everybody, like, if you look at the last year since Vampiro and Chris DeJoseph started doing the booking, it kind of seems like everybody's had an opportunity to work either main events, or get an angle, or get an opportunity. We saw Poder del Norte. We've seen a lot of the La Llave La Gloria guys get a little more of an opportunity. We've seen Hijo de Vikingo get title matches. For some reason, Dinastia just doesn't get any of that stuff, other than being in like the Relevos de Locura matches, or teaming up with Big Mommy and stuff like that. He doesn't get any opportunities. Máscara de Bronce is another one. I kind of think he's kind of like in that group with Angelical. I think they're guys who have some potential, but they're kind of like still not quite there, but I think they have some potential. I list Aramis. He would have made my top 10, but I don't know how old he is, really. I think he's young, but he's probably my favorite indie, like the high flyer, or guy that is in a promotion. I think he's a guy who, I would think CML should actually take a look at him and add him to the promotion. At the same time, I fear he would end up just like Magia Blanca and all those other guys that just or Flyer, guys who are just there for so long, and just you just see them like waste away against Nitro and Hijo del Signo and Sangre Azteca and guys like that. They're just wasted away. Forastero's another one I in my honorable mentions. The other one, he's in my honorable mentions just because he's got name value, and I think if used in a certain way, he could actually have he's already a guy that's pushed, and that's Mystico, the latest version. I know a lot of people don't like him, and he's basically like already a main event guy, but I think if they haven't really done anything with him as a singles wrestler, but I really think they did I think the way they used him against Caristico in December, I think that's a really cool. I think he's kind of starting to I think he's done a lot better in interviews. Also, he's not as unreliable as he used to be in matches. Also, at least he's actually cool in trios matches. I think if you put him in with his brother Dragon Lee, that would be a fun tag team. He's already in the Sky Team, so I think he's already there. But I think he's somebody that he's good as far as I'm concerned. He's good like at what he does, but he's kind of like, I think he's maxing out as just a good a good tag team or trios wrestler. I don't know if they could actually like. I don't think you have confidence in him as a singles wrestler, just because it would have to be against like someone like, I think someone like like Mephisto or something like that. A match, one of those matches where it's just like by the numbers, where you pretty much know what he's gonna do, and it might be fun, it might be good, it might get some heat, but it's like he's limited. I don't think he's not as good as the people that I have listed in my top 10. So with that, I'll go with my top 10. Number 10, and the only and really without her, there isn't any like. It really tells you how scary like the women's wrestling is in Mexico. Where Kira, she's been around for like forever, but she's only 22 years old. She's really good. They have her wrestling a lot of like lucha memes, a lot of the indie promotions. If they're not using her against like the better female wrestlers in Mexico, they basically just have her work against men, like Aramis and some of those Ricky Marvin guys like that. I think if it's not Zeuxis or Fabi Apache, it's basically Kira. Those are really the three women that are the ones that many consider to be the best right now in Mexico. I don't think Lady Shani's at that level, and I think Marcela and Amapola are kind of a little bit, they're starting to show their age a little more now. Fabi, I think the problem with Fabi is that she's a little bit temperamental, so she's not the easiest person to deal with. So Kira, I think she's done a lot. She's done well as an indie luchadora in Mexico. She's also wrestling. I think she's done a couple of the Aero Lucha shows. She's wrestled in Martinez Entertainment in Texas. I think she's someone that constantly gets asked if she would be open to joining the CMLL women's division, and I think she's doing the right thing because she could go. She's only 22. She could probably she's probably going to get more as far as being an independent than joining CMLL at this point. If she joined CMLL right now, she'd probably spend at least the next 2-3 years working those trios matches nonstop, and she could do that at a later date. Have that regular gig there, but I think she's doing better not being part of the CMLL. She's held numerous titles. She's already won a big mass match over Diosa Quetzal, who's a horrible wrestler. Last year she won the mass match against her. Yeah, so Kira's really good. I think she's somebody to. I would probably say that if you had to. The reason I picked her is because if you look at women's wrestling, the state of women's wrestling in Mexico, I think a lot of the people in Mexico don't really say that, oh, it's bad or anything, but it's pretty bad. I mean, there's not a lot of like, you get a lot of women that aren't very good in the ring. And I think you're seeing a lot of, I think especially now in the US, you're seeing a lot more female wrestlers that are a lot better. Japan also, but like in Mexico, it's like you basically have good female wrestlers, and then you have a lot of like that are just not good, and you got to appreciate the ones that are really good, and I think Kira she's really good. Number 9, I think this might be the only person from AAA that made my list. Hijo del Vikingo, I think he's really good. I think the problem he's gonna have is that he's really small in a promotion where heavyweights. They push heavyweights. That's the big thing there. He might get some cruiserweight matches. I could see him maxing out, like being kind of like an Aerostar, where he's probably going to end up using whatever he does in AAA, and maybe he could maybe he could use that and get to Lucha Underground or the independents, and not just in Mexico but in the U.S. He's really good. He's a second generation wrestler. He was part of the La Llave La Gloria contest. Probably the best thing in AAA in 2017. I mean, I think he, like the shows I watched, he was really the only good thing on those shows. He's got a Viking entourage now too, by the way. He's contender to the AAA cruiserweight title. He just had a title match with he had a title shot against Australian Suicide at the I think the tapings from like a couple weeks ago. So he's really good. I think he's somebody that, and that's the other thing. Like if he was in the weird thing is if he was in you would think, CML uses all these welterweights, middleweights. They're a little easier for smaller guys, but he'd probably have the same problem that Flamita had, like as far as the way CML would view him. He'd be too small. He'd probably end up being a mini, which would be great because at least he would be like a cool mini and not like shitty mini like Pequeños. Insert all the Pequeño Universos and all those guys. Number 8, and I think this guy, Hijo Vikingo, by the way, is 20, so he's going to be on this list for a while. Number 8, and this is a guy I think he's going to be the next guy that CML is going to make into a star, and that's Audaz. I think he's special. I think he's going to be like Dragon Lee, Soberano Jr., that type. I think he's already going to... They've had younger guys come in and, like Titan, Triton, and all those guys, and Titan's good. I think Audaz is going to be at that level. Only I think CML is already behind him and pushing him more like the Mascara Doradas, Dragon Lees, Sombras. I think they view him at that type of level, that star level. He's definitely better than Mystico, I will tell you that. He was formerly Fiero. He joined CML in 2017, which tells you how quickly they've already gotten behind him. He didn't have to suffer through working those undercard matches for very long. Now he's actually feuding with Virus. My favorite thing was this past week he was on Informa and with Raciel, Cancerbero, and a couple of other guys. And Raciel and Cancerbero always like to they like to joke about all the technicos. And Audaz was like, well, now at least I don't have to worry about you guys because now I'm going after the leader. That's going to be a fun feud. I look forward to that. Yeah, Audaz. I think the other thing with him feuding with Virus, the other news that happened on Informa was Felino talking about how he wants to work with the younger talent. If we get Audaz versus Virus followed by Audaz versus Felino, then we definitely know that they're going to move him up rather quickly. I'm hoping they do a Nero Casas Audaz match at some point also. That would be fun. This would be like the perfect time for CML to do En Busca de un Ídolo again, by the way, because they have Audaz, Templario, they have Forastero, a lot of guys in the promotion right now that they could use, and even guys who are even lesser known than those guys. Number 7. Audaz is 20 also, by the way, I should mention. Number 7, I have Bandido, just because I think he's going to be making his PWG debut on March 23rd. And if there's one thing that happens after a guy makes his PWG debut, he gets booked in other promotions, and I think and he gets noticed by other promoters, and some bigger than PWG, some that are smaller or international, promotions of all sizes, and I think that's going to happen with Bandido. Another guy who's a wrestler who comes from a wrestling family. His father, Apostol Jr., his brother, Angelico, out of AAA. Magia Blanca's his cousin. He trained with Ultimo Guerrero, so he could have gone to CMLL. Ultimo Guerrero told him not to because he would have probably ended up being like Magia Blanca, working those segundas or openers, and although I have a feeling, having watched Magia Blanca, I think Bandido would have probably gotten a little bit better treatment. Probably would have gotten in the Audaz level, at least he would have been moved up a little bit sooner. Plus, he was already, by that point, he was already like on Elite and stuff like that. He's still on Elite. He's wrestling on the Crash. I think he's in that tag 4-way to crown new tag champs. Let's see. He's already had a match with Hijo Santo. He's held the welterweight title for Elite and WWA. He's currently in Dragon Gate, so he's moving up rather quickly, and he's only 22 years old. I would guess within the next 3 years, he's probably going to be somebody that's going to be, he's going to be he's either going to be in a major indie name, or he'll probably be in NXT for WWE. We'll be complaining about him not showing up on WWE shows. I think that's what you could expect from him within the next 2-3 years. Number 6, at 24 years old, Barbaro Carbonario. He's already done a lot. He started off as a masked luchador, lost it to El Gallo back in 2012, really became a big name, became noticed while in that amazing En Busca de un Ídolo tournament back in 2014 that had Dragon Lee, the Panther, Hechicero, a couple other people in that. Really, like, everybody at that point was basically behind Hechicero, and it ended up like everybody just splitting up between those 4 guys, and Barbaro Carbonario ended up winning that. He then joined La Peste Negra, and he's fit in perfectly in that group. Really, I wish CMLL would put Nero Casas and Barbaro Carbonario as a tag team, but they've kind of like or Carbonario with Hechicero. That was like a one-time thing, but that's another. He's been great in that group. Whenever Mr. Niebla's gone, Barbaro Carbonario's filled in admirably, and he's basically become the number 2 guy in that group behind Casas. He's had an amazing feud with Rey Cometa, 2 hair matches which he's won. They've battled over the national welterweight title. He's teamed and feuded with Volador Jr. That's been a great feud also. That they had a really good match back what was it, late September, I think, and right after the whole it was late September. They had one of the many tournaments or whatever. The CML always has tournaments, and that's the one thing. If you don't remember what happened in CML, just assume it was a tournament. It was like a tournament final or something. Number 5, I actually have this person ahead of Barbaro Carbonario, and that is Flamita, because he's done a lot. He's only 23 years old, and he's already done a ton of stuff. Started out in DTU and other independent promotions. He's another guy who comes from another wrestling family. Too small to be part of CMLL. At one point, he actually wanted to be in CMLL. I'm sure he probably would still want to be in CMLL if they weren't such if they were run if there was ever a change in philosophy or the people as far as the programming department goes. They had him there. They said he was too small. He would have ended up being a mini, which by this point now, so many of the minis shouldn't be minis. We just mentioned Stuquita, another one that really should be moved out of that group. He then joined AAA, first as Fireball, and then they made the dumb mistake of re-gimmicking him as Octagon Jr., which led to that only lasted maybe like a month or 2, and then it just led to this horrible experience of seeing Octagon showing up at an autograph session that Flamita was at and pulling his mask off, and just an embarrassing moment for Octagon. I think, and then later on Octagon was talking about how they've it's water under the bridge and they've moved on. I think that's more from Flamita's side than Octagon's side. He also had that one, I think it might have been one appearance in Lucha Underground as Nightclaw. He's been a regular, foreigner for Dragon Gate for a couple of years now. He's been the Crash Cruiserweight champion. He's made some PWG appearances. He's wrestled in other U.S. indie shows. He's somebody that I think, I think if there's ever a point that people promoting realize that you just go based on talent and not on someone's size, he's somebody. Rey Mysterio, you're still having these issues, and Rey Mysterio's basically, you would think he made it more of a realistic thing for. There's guys, every promotion can have a cruiserweight division, really, or like whatever. It's not like there's not a bunch of like 5'8", 5'9", 5'10" guys in in pro wrestling that can actually have fun matches with these guys. So, if you're 5'3", 5'4", come on, give them a shot. Number 3 and number 4 are actually number 4. I put Sansón. He's 23 years old, and number 3 I put Cuatrero, who's 21. Obviously, they're both Cien Caras' sons, part of the Dinamita family. They have held a bunch of titles, national trios, Occidente trios, Arena Coliseo tag team titles. Cuatrero is the CML World Middleweight Champion. I think I put Cuatrero ahead of Sanson just because from watching them wrestle, I think Cuatrero's a little more I think he's more complete as a wrestler, whereas Sanson is more charismatic. And I think if Cuatrero ever gets the charisma or gets a little bit more of that, building because Cuatrero, when he does interviews, he's very quiet, whereas Sanson is a little more outgoing, a little more talkative. Sanson feuded with Soberano Jr., that's still going on. Cuatrero is currently feuding with Angel de Oro, and he's already going to be headlining his first, he's going to main event, the Dos Leyendas. So, that's the other reason I put him at number 3 ahead of Sanson. He's already headlining one of the 2 big shows for CML. And I think both these guys have a shot. If WWE ever wants to get more luchadors, there are 2 more guys that they could always go after. Number 2, 24 years old, Soberano Jr. I mean, really, the guy dated Ali. That's really the reason he's number 2. Let's be honest. He's the Euphoria son, comes from another wrestling family. The current national welterweight champion. Really good, talented. I think he has. He's going to be he's a star, feuding with Sanson, but really, he dated Ali. And if you don't know who the Ali is, look her up on. Actually, you can't because she's disappeared from social media. I hope she's okay. And at number 1, 22 years old, Dragon Lee. The guy's amazing. Tons of charisma. As far as guys who are going to be the guy, I think since the last 2 years, everybody's been counting down when he's going to end up in WWE. He's really good. I mean, especially the way CML's been booking him, you assume they probably figure he's not going to be there too long. But you hear Dragon Lee, I mean, you think he would want to be there a little, like they should book him a little better just because he really wants to, he wants another mass match. You could probably get another big main event out of him. He already headlined a big show, the 83rd anniversary, where he took La Mascara's mask. He's the CML Super Lightweight Champion. And he's had the epic feud with Kamatachi, or for those of you New Japan fans, Hiromu Takahashi. Just an amazing wrestler. I think he's the guy. He's the as far as the 25 and under guys, he's currently the guy who's, he's the main guy. And I think CML has to do something with him. Like, they can't just be worried about, he's going to go to WWE. Like, what's the big deal? I mean, they got to do stuff with these guys. And yeah, like I said, this is the list. I want to know what everybody else, what their thoughts are on the 25 and under. Hey, even guys that I don't mention, unknown guys. Is there somebody unknown out there that's working, the AMLL circuit in Torreon, or IWRG, or Elite, or the Mexico City? I could have mentioned LA guys, but there's a couple guys locally that are pretty good also, or Chicago or Texas, wherever. Send me some names. My Twitter account, The Real Fredo. Send it to me. Let me know your thoughts. Is there anybody that you would like to include in the list? Because I think there's a lot of great talent 25 and under. There's always these guys can get older, and there's always going to be somebody else that pops up. The DTU guys, there's a lot of guys. I think Jimmy might be under 25. He's good. DTU had that tryout, and there was a couple. I watched that match. I thought Jimmy was the most impressive one. The former nerd. I was very disappointed in Kevin because he should have taken off that blue sweater. He could have impressed Sima a little better, and Nero Casas. Nero Casas looked very excited watching that match. But yeah, there's a lot of guys. Luigi should be on this list, but I don't know where he is. He's too busy studying. He's getting an education, which I think it's a good thing for him. He should, but he's got time. I think he was what was he, 15, 16 the last time DTU told me about him. So yeah, he's got time to be on this list. Luigi will be on this at some point if he comes back I think who else is there? Baby Star Junior or Baby Metal or whatever. Those guys that were in that trios match for Lucha memes. Yeah, but there's a lot of talent. Arcangel Divino, I think he might be under 25 also, but I think he's kind of more of a, he's not as polished as some of the guys I mentioned. The 10 that I mentioned, I think they're already like, they're already got people that I think could be stars. Like I said, Kira could walk into AAA and she'd be the best. If Kira walked into AAA, she'd be the best wrestler in the promotion, really. If she went to CML, she'd be like, her and Zeuxis would be the two best female wrestlers in the promotion. If she went to Lucha Underground, I'd believe her kicking a guy's ass more than I ever believe Sexy Star could. So there's a couple. Hijo Vikingo, I think is a fantastic wrestler. I wish there was more AAA talent that I could list on this because, there's. Unfortunately, they focus so much on like Dave the Clown and La Parka and all those people. So, yeah, like I said, I had fun doing this. Hopefully, some of you will come up with some other names that I didn't mention, or maybe I even forgot some people because I know there's like a couple. I had to look up like Titan and all those guys, but they've been around a little longer. I think Titan's already like 27, 28 years old. I'm sure there's gonna be people are gonna mention like. I remember when like some of the names of people that were joining Lucha Underground and people were like, how young are these guys? These guys are young, promising wrestlers. And I was like, no, they're not. They've been around like since 2000 and they're like in their mid 30s or late 40s. I mean, Volador Jr. has been around for a long time now. And some people are like amazed that when they find out that he's like, I think he's 35, 36 now, which is still considered young in by Lucha standards. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Anybody else you would like to like add to the top 10 list? Maybe you disagree with me on someone and would add somebody else that I didn't include. Like I said, it's an opinion. It's not set in stone where it's like these are the 10 and then that's it. Well, I guess that's about it. I want to thank everyone for listening. Be sure to visit LuchaWorld.com for all the latest Lucha Libre news. And if you are looking for more Lucha content, including the Lucha Classica podcast, we just did one on Pirata Morgan's career. Sign up to our Patreon page at patreon.com/LuchaWorld at $1, $3, or $5. You can also find the LuchaWorld podcast and Lucha Classica previews on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, and who knows where else the feed has been added. Thanks again, everyone, and talk to you all again next time.